Alright, what do you start with?
Oh, I don't really know. Under eye concealer.
Oh my lord.
I just put my finger in it.
What would I do? I haven't been wearing foundation for a while. I only get like things down here usually. Glam. Ooh. We're using ink corrector. So, Rosh Niche Purim, let's talk about it.
What is that? I'm very behind.
Rosh Niche Purim is one of my favorite cults that I learned about recently.
Is that not Om Shinrikyo?
Whoa, what is that?
It's a different cult.
Okay, cool. We'll get to that one. And it was a cult. They came over to like, oh my god, what like middle America state, and they like wanted to make their own town or whatever. And like the townspeople like hated them, like they were really weird. And there was the real reason I love this cult so much is because of Sheila. Sheila was this little like lady who was like faithful to, let me see. Okay. Wow, this is really like coverage.
Just let my nose do its own thing.
Love that. Let her live her life.
I'm gonna say I got them designer bags under my eyes.
Oh, stop it. Because it's not smooth. Like I try shaving my face like people say, and it's like it doesn't do anything for me. So Sheila was like, anyone who was against the cult or whatever, like specifically the town that didn't want them there, she would like send out like people from the cult to like, they tried putting salmonella in salad bars and stuff because they were trying to like do a vote or whatever to make themselves their own town. And basically the townspeople like were trying to vote against them, and they're like, if we poison the townspeople, there won't be a voter turnout strong enough to vote against us. Something like that. There's a whole like series of it, like a docu-series on Netflix about it. It's really wild.
Wait, what's the series called?
It's called Wild Wild Country.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
I know that.
Okay, yeah. So it's about that cult.
Watch it, and then I started watching it, and I was
Jesus.
like, well, I never watched it. I watched the what's it called? The one where the little girl was like thought she was chosen to be an alien queen. Do you know that one?
Wait, Alien Queen?
But it was just like their neighbor being a pedophile. I forget what it's called, but it's the most frustrating documentary I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, really? Like,
Yeah.
does it end in a way that you're like, there was no justice?
Oh my god, it was so bad. The long story short of it is these parents had this daughter, and the neighbor like really liked the daughter, and I think she was like 11. And so then the neighbor is like, I gotta come over and sleep in your daughter's bed. Is that cool? And they're like, yeah, that's fine.
What the fuck?
Yeah. They're like, we think you're a cool guy. And then he would take the daughter on trips. And what else did he do?
What parent?
Like the mom had an affair with the guy, and then the dad had an affair with the guy.
Wait, what? What is
Yes,
this? Wait,
I'm not kidding.
This is lovely. What is this?
I was like, the documentary?
No, Chanel, look at you.
It has a scent. That's the best part. I haven't sniffed enough.
None of us could ever sniff enough. Wait, so do you have the name of it, or can you not remember it?
I'm sure if I just looked up pedophile alien abduction documentary on Netflix, it would come up.
That's fucking wild.
My nose is aggressive.
Tell me if I'm hitting your eyeballs too hard. That's wild. The one you just said. I've never heard. So was it a cult, or was it just like one creepy guy?
It was the one creepy guy and the most stupid parents I've ever seen in my life. Because then he like got caught being a pedophile, and then
imagine.
And then he said, "Oh, I'm just gonna go to therapy. That's what you do, right? When you're a pedophile." And the parents were like, "Just go to therapy." And then he's like, "My therapist said I have to sleep in your daughter's bed more." And they're like, "That sounds fine, please." So I'm just like a Q-tip. This
Ooh.
powder.
I love how this closes.
This little frick with it.
This one doesn't open satisfying like the other one did.
Wait, can I look up what that thing is? It's gonna bother me.
What, the weird alien one?
Yes. It's called Abducted in Plain Sight. And it was the first thing that came up from Netflix documentary Alien Pedophile.
Why? Netflix algorithm is fucked. They don't recommend me anything I want.
I just think they wanted to bang the pedophile. Because that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Oh, tell me about it. Do you know Diane Downs?
That name sounds very familiar.
Okay, she's great. Her story's really interesting because at first she tells it and you believe her right away because it's like, oh yeah, a mom, would come forward with a story like that. But then the more people started digging, and it was weird because the more that she would do interviews and stuff, the more like guilty she looked. This is the story she brought first. So she said that she was flagged down by some guy on the side of the road and that he shot her kids that were in the back seat and that she rushed to the hospital and the guy had shot her arm as well and like she rushed to the hospital to save their lives and it was a guy that she didn't even know and it was so tragic and everyone was like, oh, that poor woman. But then people were like, hold on. You said that this guy like went into the window and shot your kids. What do you use for blush? This guy just like came in and like shot your kids in the back seat. Then why did we find blood on the outside of the car? It would have all been inside. Can you do like a dramatization for us or whatever? Like, can you reenact it? That's what it is. Reenact it. So she's like, okay. So while she's doing this reenactment, she's acting really weird. She's like laughing with the other people. She's like, oh my God. Like she's just being so ditzy and silly. And they're like, your kids are like, two are like critically like injured, like brain dead. And one's in a coma or something like that. Like she had 3 kids and like, they're like in the hospital. There's like a possible like, attempted murder on the loose, and you're like giggling, doing a reenactment of how your kids got shot in the car and how you got shot.
Oh, this little baby.
There he is. So then they thought, okay, that's weird, but that's not really proof of anything. And like people could argue that she was nervous. So some people's reaction to being nervous or grieving is to like, like some people like at funerals will like laugh because they're very uncomfortable by what's going on. So people could argue like, oh, she was just uncomfortable. Whatever, fine. But then they're noticing like other things. So she said she rushed to the hospital, but there was a witness who was behind her when she was driving to the hospital saying that she was going so slow, and people put it together that she was waiting for her kids to, die. Like she was driving slowly to the hospital so that they could bleed out essentially.
What the
So, yeah. So, like, her kids are, like, in critical condition. She didn't... Well, yeah. Basically, she shot them. They found a gun and everything that she had purchased and everything like that. And she didn't kill the kids. But then when an officer or something came in to check in on the situation, her kids are in such horrible condition. And she was saying weird things in interviews, things like, my kids are lucky because they don't have to live with this grief that I have to live with, and it was like really uncomfortable. Okay, this is where I'm gonna get like silly. She starts going on more interviews and things like that and like tries to like explain her like story more and like, oh, now there's 2 guys that were involved and one of them like brought her to the more and more that she like not confessed, like the more that she told her story and retold, she was changing facts. And the only thing was her 2 other kids were like brain dead, but one was in a coma. And essentially the cops are thinking, look, we don't have solid proof of this or that. The only thing that we can really depend on at this point is if that little girl gets out of her coma, because she was there. She knows what happened. She's a key witness, if you will. Do you use this brush when you use this palette?
I don't know what I'm doing.
So, they're waiting for that girl, hopefully, because here's the other thing. Like, you can't just expect the child to want to testify. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of the times, people even try to avoid that. They don't want the child to have to go up there and relive a traumatic event, right? So, they don't even know if that's going to happen. But then they start reading her diary, which, like, this woman at this point is delusional. Because she had so much information in that diary that basically summed up everything. So she was married, but she was like obsessed with this guy she worked with, but he didn't want to have kids. So, the police are starting to put it together that like the way her mind worked was, well, the kids are in the way of me having this relationship I want. So I have to get them out of the picture.
Just get rid of the problem.
Like, there's an interrogation where they're like, we know you did it, blah, blah, blah. Like, they're getting more information. She's like, you know what? I should just do your guy's job because I know who did it. And I'm going to bring him down to the station. And she storms out of the interrogation. And, like, it's like, what do you mean we know you? Like, she's the one who did it. My thing was, who was she going to bring to the station? You know what I'm saying? She's one of my favorites. Not because she's a good person. Fuck her. She's insane. But I mean, like, she's my favorite in, like, how her, like, gears work or whatever in her head. So, do you mind if I use my clown makeup? It's going to be going on trial in a couple months. And during that couple months, she sleeps with this guy. And then when it comes to her trial date, she's 8 months pregnant, which was calculated because she knows there's going to be a jury and she wants to play the innocent mother. Like, how could you send a pregnant mother to jail? Like, that's insane. You can't do that. So she's trying to win sympathy. So she got pregnant on purpose so that when it came time for a trial, people were going to see a pregnant woman being accused of murdering her children. A mother wouldn't do that. She's not stupid necessarily, but, like, she is insane. But then, you know who else is there? Her daughter gets out of the coma. And her daughter, it's really tragic because her daughter goes on the stand and they ask her, who shot you? And she's, like, she's crying and she's like, mommy shot me. Like, she knew. Like, this girl has been in the hospital in a coma for so long, but she, like, that's not something she could forget or anything.
Yeah.
Crazy. So then she goes to jail. She escapes at one point, but they get her back, I think. And then
she escapes?
Yeah.
Escapes jail?
Because this is what she did. So, you know, there's barbed fencing and everything like that, but they give you, like, a coat because it was cold or whatever. She threw the coat on the fence to cover the barbed wire.
Like Club.
Yeah. So then when she gets up there, the barb doesn't hit her. And then she hid under a car and she waited until, like, nightfall where there was no one out there. And then she rolled back from under the car and, like, ran or something. And she rendezvoused with this guy. Like, she was a charmer. She knew lots of men who would, like, hide a fugitive. So.
Wait, was she pregnant this whole time?
Was she pregnant? No. She had the baby, but, you know, they put her up. I think so. I was watching a 2020 or Dateline. Are they the same? They're not the same. Yeah, she's fun. She was a fun one.
It's another cult. Did you know Jared Leto has his own cult now?
No, he does not.
Well, kind of.
Good for him. I was waiting for him to break out into the cult.
It's this weird thing because he's out in the desert somewhere and everyone is there. Like, there's 30 people with him. They're all wearing white robes.
Ooh, fun.
And I think they're all in sandals or barefoot. I don't remember.
Either. It's business cash.
Yeah. It's Casual Friday every day. But you can, like, pay to go there. He's offering, like, packages for people to join him. So, like, a basic package for, like, $40 is, we're just gonna have lunch. We're just gonna have lunch
with Jared Leto.
Yeah, or, like, I'm kind of making that up, but it's like tiers of cultness, and then for like $6,000 you get the VIP experience, and they don't even say what it is.
Ew, that's weird. I don't like that.
Yeah, it's like.
Do they have a 40-page waiver?
I'm sure they do.
You agree to let Jared Leto pull your teeth out. So it's kind of like the Jeremy Renner app, but, like, in real life. And wait, do you not know about that?
No, I do. Comparison is wait, yes.
What? Jeremy Leto. I was going to say
Leto.
Jeremy Leto. My creation. Okay.
Jeremy Renner lacks the commitment to meet his fans like that. All he did was the app. He could have gone so much further. Rent a space in the desert. Invite your fans.
I love these little brushes.
It's engagement.
Yeah. Like you've seen, because I was watching, who was it? The Danny Gonzalez video on the Jeremy Renner app. It's such bullshit. Because it's like, it's literally Instagram But, like, and he barely responds. It reminds me of was it Woody Harrelson? What was the AMA on Reddit? Yeah, it was Woody Harrelson, right?
Rampart.
It was so, like, mundane and, like, unengaging with fans. Like, it was very direct or whatever. But, yeah, that's what the Jeremy Renner app reminds me of, was that AMA. How he'll be very, like, I don't know, like, not even, like, respond really to people. Mm-hmm. And, like, he preaches it as okay, well, this video took a turn.